What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be looking at some basics for your text window in Accordance, and I'll be working from the workspace of BibleWorks 24. If you don't know anything about that, you can go back and look at my previous video about how to set up Accordance so that it kind of works like BibleWorks. But let's jump right in. All right, here we are in Accordance, and we're going to look at this main window here, the one that we have here in the center. Notice I've got Jude pulled up. This is my text window, and I have my English translation. This is NASB 95 in this main screen, and then under here, paralleled with it, I have the Greek translation of this would be NA 28 of Jude. And if you noticed, this is Jude 1:1. I have Jude here at the top. If I scroll up, this will only parallel, or the lower Greek section right here will only follow the top verse of my window. So if I scroll down to 2, it will also scroll down to 2. If I scroll down to 6 and I put 6, verse Jude 6 right here at the very top, then it'll also have Jude 6 at the very top. So that's how it distinguishes when I need to scroll up and scroll down. You can see it does the same if I scroll on the NA28. It will change, the NASB will change to whatever is at the top. So basically what these both try to do is they try to make the two top verses in the window identical. So even though I can see Jude 12, which is here at the bottom, I can't see it in Greek. It just goes down to Jude 10. Okay, so simple, basic scrolling right there. This right here, this is our text window, and then they have this little magnifier. It says magnify this zone. If we click on that, it will take this window, our text window, and it will make it full screen. And it doesn't change anything. The BibleWorks is still set up in the background. It just makes it to where we have a bigger workspace and we can see more text displayed. So I can hit it again and it will go back to what it normally was. And that's very nice for really any window, especially for you'll use it a ton in this lexicon lookup window. I can hit that magnifier and it makes that window full screen. I can go back and it takes it back. If I close this will close. If I hit that little X, it will not only close this tab, it will close all 3 of the tabs. The entire window will close, which I don't want to do because this is the main window that I work out of. And then I have these little arrows right here. Those arrows are telling me that scrolling is tied to multiple windows. Notice it just basically tells me if I hover my mouse over it. And then I have the name for my tab, and I've actually named these. If you're using this and you're coming from the previous video and you're using BibleWorks-24, you'll have the same names. Otherwise, you can name those different names if you like. Okay, then this next option right here is my, I guess you'd call it the text that I'm actively using, my active text. And I can hit this drop-down window. So I'm using NASB 95, and I can hit this drop-down window, and I can select a different one. I can go over here to King James with Strong's, and then my active window will change. So now I'm using King James with Strong's. Here it is, Jude, the servant of Jesus Christ, the other James. Now if I want to go back, of course I can go back to NASB 95 or whatever. I've got like lots of options to choose from. So this is the one I like for my main window, NASB 95. It's the one I'm going to use. All right, the other thing that I passed over is this little plus icon, which is probably self-explanatory because it's kind of like Chrome or any browser that you use. You're going to add another tab, and that'll give you, rather than just opening a new window, it adds this, or it opens this option to select whatever tool or text that you're wanting to open. So I have my recent modules, which here's all the ones that I've recently opened, and I have my modern Bibles, Greek text, Hebrew text, so on and so forth, and many other different options that I have. Visuals, Greek studies, these would be more of my tools, Greek lexicons, parallels, just a bunch of I can open a web browser, which is kind of crazy, but those that's your plus options if you want to open another window. So if you want to add another window besides these three, you want a different translation or something that you want to work out of, you can do that. And this is like super basic. And if you have used Accordance at all, and you're like, why are you spending so much time on this? This video is intended for a class that usually doesn't have, usually has never used Accordance. So I'm trying to start very, very basic. But bear with me. All right. This is our search window. This is the window that we'll do all of our search navigations out of. If you notice here, before it has the option to enter a verse reference, there's this little drop down. As you can see, mine is brown, has a little brown shaded circle around it. And if I hit that drop down, I can choose how exactly how I want it to differentiate what my input is for my search. So if I search for verses, if I click verses and I type in 1 Corinthians 5, and I hit enter, it's gonna take me to 1 Corinthians 5. Or if I do, I'm looking for verses, we're gonna do John. It's gonna take me to John. Now, I can go over here and click, actually no, I wanna search for words, which John is a word. It's also a verse reference. But if I do words and I hit enter again, it's going to search for all the words John in the Bible, in my NASB 95. Now I can do words. It's kind of smart. I can actually select words and do something that's clearly a reference. Like we'll do 1 Corinthians again 5. And it will change. So now you notice how it used to say words and it changed on its own. It's smart enough to figure out that 1 Corinthians 5 is not a word, and therefore I'm probably wanting to search a verse reference. But if I go back in here in verses and I type in something that could easily be distinguished as a verse, it's going to search for the verse because it's selected on, this is selected as verses. I guess Jude is a good example as well. So here's Jude, and it's going to Jude 1 because it's navigating me to the book, giving me Jude the book, rather than Jude the word, which I can select word, hit enter again, and it's going to search for Jude. It only has one hit in NASB 95. There's another drop down that's fairly new, or at least I just started using it. Maybe it's been there forever and I've totally missed it. And that's called headings. And if you are using a text that uses headings, you can search for, we'll do Christ, and it's going to come with all the NASB 95 headings that have the word Christ in it. So Peter's confession of Christ. So notice the red is the highlighted, that's the hit. And here is where that's from, or here's the text that follows it. Peter's confession of Christ, the return of Christ. It's just got a bunch of hits that have to do with Christ for that appear in headings of NASB 95. So that's an option. I just started using that. I did not know that existed, but it's pretty interesting. So if you notice over here, let's do another search for Son of Man. Okay. I'm going to do Son of Man, and this is words. Obviously, it's not a verse reference, but it brings up in all the hits in NASB 95 that have the word Son of Man. Now, if you notice over here, I have a little a word or a window that has a little shaded region, and that's telling me how many hits it came up with. So it did a search for Son of Man, and it came up with 195 hits in the NASB 1995. So that's something where I can see and get a good understanding for just how many words are in there. So here's John. Let's see. Oh, I had verses selected. Let's go back to words. And then here it is, 135 references of the word John in NASB 95. All right. So that can be useful. This right here is a pretty useful function as well. This little plus icon, which appears next to your word search input, and it is exactly what it says right here. It see it says add a search condition, range, scope, etc. Now I'm going to make an entire video on advanced methods of searching and conditions that you can put with them. But this is, like I said, this is a basic one. So I'll just briefly show you these ranges and scopes that you can select. And it's real simple. We're not going to get real advanced because it can get really, really advanced quickly. But if you click that little plus icon, this little drop down appears and it says range is, and it's defaulted to all text because of how we set up our accordance. So anytime we search in a particular text, it's going to search the whole text. So I can change that. I can go over here and I can say, actually, no, I want to only search the Gospels. Okay, so right now I had 135 results for the word John, and I can scroll through here and possibly until we get to a non-gospel book. Here we go, Revelation. So non-gospel book, it's showing me the results for the word John. So let me change this to Gospels, and I'm going to go over here to John, and I'm going to hit enter again, and it's only going to show me the times that the word John appears in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Gospels. So it only brings back 107 hits. This is 107 times the word John appears in the Gospels. And I have many different ranges that I can select. I've got law, wisdom, prophets. I can even make a range myself, which I'm not going to, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to get into that, but that option is there if you want to export. All right, now I'm going to close this, remove all search conditions. I hit the little X right there. It's going to close that. Now if I hit John, search for John again, hit enter, I'm going to get 135 searches because it's not defining my search by the range. That can be a very helpful tool. All right, the next thing we have right here that has to do with searches is this little slider. This slider, notice that when I searched, it is on 0. So if I hover my mouse over it, it says show additional context for each verse in your search result. So here I have Matthew 3:1, and it shows me the first time John appears in the New Testament. I think that's the first time, right? Yeah, that's the first hit. If I wanted to see what verses appeared before that and in front of it, I would go over here and I would select 1. And now I'm going to get the verse that appears before it and the verse that appears after it. 1 verse that appears before it and 1 verse that appears after it. So here I've got Matthew 3:1, and this is where my hit is in Matthew 3:1, but I have the other verse that follows it, Matthew 3:2, also in there. Now notice there's no hits in John. This is just me saying if I want to see the context of the hit that I'm searching for and what the other scripture is around that, I can adjust how much I see. So for example, if I want to go 2, now I'm going to see 2 verses, and it's going to show John. Well, actually, it didn't work here necessarily because I have John 1, 2, 3, and the next time it appears is in 4. So that's not a great example, but I guess you can work back in this example. So John 3:1, 2:23, 2:22. And I can even go more. I can go, let's do 4. So I'm going to get 4 verses before John 3:1. I can scroll up here. So I have, or no, I'm sorry. Am I saying John? Matthew. My goodness. Matthew 2, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 3:1. That's very embarrassing if I quoted that as Matthew. But yeah, Matthew 3:1, and I have 4 verses of context before the actual verse hit. And theoretically, I should have 4 verses following, but the next hit is in John 4, so it merges those 2. But now you can see how it would work like if John 4 wasn't there. So now I've got 4 verses following this hit, and you can see it keeps going. So anyway, if you have that, that's something to mess with. If you want to see the whole, if you only want to highlight the references, and you want to see the whole text, so if I want to see all of NASB 95 and I don't want to scroll through it, I can take this slider and I can slide it all the way over and it says A. That means all. So now this is just me working through the normal text. Now, the cool thing about this is when this happens, notice down here, this little HIT right here, those little up and down arrows, those arrows don't show if I move this back down to 9. But once I move that little slider up to A, when it shows everything, then I have this hit navigation. And what this does is, no matter where I'm at, so I'm searching for John, and it knows that. Accordance, the workspace, or the text window knows that I'm searching for John. And it says, you know what if you get lost and you want to see the next hit? So here's the next hit is going to be in verse 4. But right now I'm at 3:1. If I go here and I hit move, click to move down 1 hit. So I click that and I go, it takes me to 3:1. I click it again, it takes me to 4:3. If I click it again, it's going to take me to 3:13 and 3:14, and then skipping me all the way up to 4:12. And now we're at 4:21. So I can just navigate back and forth. Here I'm going to go back to 3:1 here. And I can see the hits, and the hit verses are always going to appear at the very top there. So that's super helpful if you want to quickly go through the hits that you're seeing, and you don't want to mess with this how many verses before, how many verses after. But if you want your hits in your word searches to show up only the verse that the hit is in, you just take the slider, move it all the way back to 0, and now you're only going to get Matthew 3:1, 3:4, 3:13, only verses that have the word that you're searching for in. Okay, and notice my little hits up and down arrow goes away. Okay, some other navigation functions that don't have to do with word search. So in order to navigate around your text, you can always type in whatever it is that you want to type in. Romans 12, by the way, you can do abbreviations that will understand. Lots of abbreviations, or some it doesn't get, but for most people it will get just about everything that you throw at it. Here's Matthew 12. So this is super simple. By the way, when you enter verses, it doesn't like when you don't do a space there. So you have to put a space there. The book MAT 1-2 can't be found. Right? I wish it could just figure that out. For some reason, it doesn't. So maybe Accordance, if you're watching, which you're probably not, maybe you can fix that for us. Matthew 1-2, Matthew 12. So here's our space, and it figures that out. We could do 15, and it doesn't care if you want a semicolon for the verse, so 15:4, or if you do a period. So you can do 15 period 4, and it will still find it. It's not too picky. I'm not sure you could do a space. Yeah, it doesn't take a space. But yeah, period's usually easier to type rather than hitting shift for your colon. But okay, the other way to navigate, which is also pretty interesting, is this little option over here right next to our slider. And you can see it says show table of contents. If I click on that, it's going to give me the option to navigate through the table of contents. So of course this is a Bible, so our table of contents are just the book and the chapter and verse. So here's Old Testament, New Testament. If I want to go over here to Obadiah, I click on Obadiah. It says, well, there's only one chapter in Obadiah, so I've got one, and then I've got all the verses of Obadiah. I can let's go to verse 6. So here we are, Obadiah 6, and I can navigate to, let's do Psalms. Let's go to Psalm 71, verse 1. Wow, that's such a great song. Okay. It's just an amazing little quick way to navigate if you don't want to type in your reference. So maybe something that you like, maybe something you don't like. I don't know. You tell me which one you prefer to use. I think because I use a keyboard so much in my searches, and because I usually, when I'm searching for things, I'm using additions and additional things, that I tend to use the verse reference. But if you're just navigating around the text and you want to go wherever, I find that pretty nice, especially if you have a touchscreen. I have a touchscreen. I have a Windows laptop, so I have a touchscreen, and it works pretty well to just click that and hit the verse reference. It's kind of navigation similar to the way that your favorite Bible app may navigate. So that's an option. Okay, the other thing that we'll look at is this add parallel option. This is very useful. So let's say we're going to go to John 10, 10, such a great verse. And we're going to do, I'm going to see what this looks like in the ESV, okay? So I could do a bunch of different things. I could go over here and I can navigate and find my ESV translation, or I could click on the, this is actually probably the way I would do it. I would probably double click on the verse reference, and it would open up my verse lookup window, and then I have, of course, all my different Bibles that I use in the verse reference, and the verses show up in for the particular translation show up there. But another way that you can do this is, if I just wanted to see ESV and everything else that fits along with this, I would go over here to add parallel, and I can go over here and it's going to say info pane. There's a bunch of other things I can do, but I've got ESV with Strong's right here, which will also, this is my recent modules. It will appear in your text if you don't have any recent modules. So I go over here to text, and I need to find it. It is somewhere in here. It's probably down. Maybe not. Maybe I just missed it. There it is. ESV with Strong's. Okay, so notice here it shows my NASB 95, and it kind of slid it over, and then it added this parallel ESV with Strong's. And as I scroll through each of these, they're tied, so it will scroll with it. So whichever verses at the top, I've got 1013, it's going to put 1013 up here as well, and I can see them as I scroll. Okay, so I can add a bunch of these if I wanted to. Now I don't want to because I don't have a lot of space for them, but I can do almost anything that correlates with the text that I use. So different translation, I can do. Let's add the net. So here's the net with John. Different types of translations. Let's actually do this. Let's put a ESV with Strong's, a net, and a NASB. Okay. Now, for the sake of my demonstration, I'm gonna show you what this little other checkbox over here is. Now, granted, I don't think I've ever used this. I would actually use this a different way, but I'm just gonna show you just so you know what it is. This box right here is great for when you have a lot of parallels across your window. So I've got 3, actually I have 4 if you count the Greek at the bottom. If I hit compare, it's going to show all the differences comparing my main text to the other 2 that I have. So here it's going to show me the one who is hired, so net doesn't have that at all. It's totally different. The hired hand, right? And then let's see, he who is a hired hand. So that's similar. The ESV is similar in NASB's over here. He who is a hired hand. That's the same, so there's not any difference there. He who is a hired hand, right there. See how that's the same. And not a shepherd. Does. So ESV has the word does. Who does not own the sheep. Own does not appear here. It appears in NASB as owner, but in ESV it's just own, and it's own as well in the net. So you can see how it's just showing me differences, just highlighting them, showing me different ways. Like the underline mean it's there, but it's just a little bit different form. Abandons, leaves is similar there. I don't know what's underlined. I guess it's the same, but abandons would be different. So the net's not quite showing up similarly, but you get the point. It shows you differences in the different parallels that you have. Okay, so if you see a bunch of lines and everything that shows up with your parallels, it's probably because this little compare checkbox is checked. Now, I don't use compare in this window, in my main window. I do, however, use it in my verse lookup tab over here, and the reason it's useful is because that's the verse lookup tab. It has all the verses that are paralleled against each other, and I can hit compare and I can see all the differences in the verses. Now if you notice here, I'll scroll down and I've got I don't know if these are compared to each other's Textus Receptus and NA28, but I can compare those as well, and I can see the differences in them. So that's a very useful tool. I don't actually I say it's a very useful tool. I don't use it that much. That's probably just because the way that, or it's a powerful tool. The way that I study. Okay, that is our main window options and setup functions. There's other things that are significantly more in depth that we could talk about. However, I'm going to refrain from doing that. I should probably say this is our live click functions function when this box is checked. I think I said that in the previous video as well. I have my settings here for live click, which will open when I click on that, and anything else here that you should know. This is really not a great UI, but this is increase font and decrease font. So if I want my font to get bigger, I hit that big A, and if I want to get smaller, I hit the small A. And that's how that works. That font size is saved to your workspace. So if you want your workspace to always be bigger, then go and adjust your font sizes on all your different windows, and then save your workspace, and it'll open up the same way. Notice how I have it pretty small over here in my NASB Greek dictionary window, and I have it decently big in my lexicon, and then these are pretty small, because that's how I like them. So if you like it different and you want your main text window to be a lot bigger, make it a lot bigger, then resave your workspace, and it'll open back up as that. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. If you have any questions, comment below, and I'll try to answer your questions. Maybe I'll even make a video about them, about how things function and in Accordance. And yeah, have fun using Accordance.